When we talk about locking cells, we're often concerned about the security of the contents of a spreadsheet. We can protect the contents of our spreadsheet from the cell level all the way up to the file level. Let's explore how to do that. The first thing to bear in mind is that in Excel, all cells are locked by default. Check it out. Let's highlight all the cells, right-click, format cells, and they're already locked. But the reason we don't notice that is because locking cells doesn't really mean anything unless the sheet is also protected. So how do you protect a sheet? By going to the Review tab and clicking here on Protect Sheet. Once we protect the sheet, everything that was locked is also now protected, which is everything because remember, they're all locked by default. You'll notice in this window that the Select Locked Cells and Select Unlocked Cells options are already checked by default. Leaving them this way means that we'll be able to click on the cells but not edit them. If you uncheck Select Locked Cells, then we'll only be able to see what's displayed in those cells, but we won't be able to click on them when navigating through the spreadsheet. If we uncheck both Select Locked Cells and Select Unlocked Cells, then we've basically made the document read-only for people who don't have the password if you created one. Now, just a note about passwords. If you do choose to include a password to unprotect your sheet, remember that there's no way to recover one if you've lost it. So make sure it's something you remember or that you write it down somewhere. All right, so let's keep this at the default and let's protect the sheet. We'll call our password test, and it asks us to confirm by re-entering the password. So now this worksheet is locked, and we can tell that because this has now changed from protect sheet to unprotect sheet. If we try to do anything here, we get a warning message that this is a protected sheet. Of course, to unlock the sheet, we just go back to the Review tab, click Unprotect, enter the password, and hit OK. And now we can make changes as normal. Now, what if we only wanted to lock specific cells? Then we'd have to unlock everything, lock the ones we want, and then protect them. So let's select all. We can use the Control-1 shortcut. We're in the Format Cells window, and then click on the Protection tab. We uncheck Locked, so now everything is unlocked. And then we'll lock the ones we want. So let's say we want to lock these cells. We go back to the Format Cells window and just lock the ones we want. Go back to the Review tab and click Protect Sheet. If we want a password, then we enter one here. Now once we hit OK, we'll be able to edit the unlocked cells as normal, but we'll only be able to perform these actions if we specifically enable them by checking these boxes. So unless we check these boxes, then we won't be able to format rows, insert columns, delete columns, and so on. Let's keep it at the default. We hit OK. So now the sheet is protected. We can't make any changes to these cells, but we can make changes here. Here's something else many people don't know. You can create one password for one range and another password for another range within the same worksheet. Maybe this table should be viewable by all team members, but we want the data entry clerks to be able to edit just the first 4 columns, and the analyst to be able to edit just the last column. Then we'll want to keep all the cells locked, but specify separate passwords for each range. So now we go to the Review tab. Remember, all the cells are locked by default. So now we just need to go to the Review tab and click Allow Edit Ranges. In this window, we click New, and we'll give our first range a title. So let's say we'll call the first 4 columns Input, and it refers to these cells. And the password for this range, let's call it Data, and OK. Of course, we're asked to confirm that password, so we type Data again and hit OK. Now we want to create the password for the second range. So now we need another new range, and let's call this one Sales. And this range will refer to these cells, just the ones in column E. And the password, is going to be formulas. We hit OK and we type the password again. And the final step is just to click Protect Sheet, because remember, there's no effect until the sheet is actually protected. Since we want this document to be view only to everyone, then we'll create a password to unprotect the sheet. So let's call this password sheet, confirm, and we're done. All right, so here's how this works. The ranges that we created specific passwords for, let's say we wanted to change this value to 7, we get this message saying, enter the password to change the cell. So now we just enter the word data here, hit OK, and we can change this to the number 7. If we wanted to change the formula, we need the password for this range, and that's going to be formulas. And now we're free to change cells in this range. The other cells in the worksheet are still protected, and we'd need the worksheet password to make changes to the rest of the sheet. Let's move on to locking something else. Maybe you want all your cells with formulas to be locked so that people don't delete them by mistake or try to edit them. If you only have 1 or 2 formulas on the sheet, that's easy. You can just go in and manually lock them the way we've been doing. But if you have a worksheet with lots of formulas, or if they're scattered all over the sheet, there's an easier way. First, you unlock all the cells. So highlight all, Control 1, and you unlock all your cells. Then from the Home tab, you click the Find and Select command. In the drop-down menu, you can select Formulas, and Excel will immediately highlight all the cells within the worksheet that contain formulas. Once they're all highlighted, lock the selected cells. So we Control 1 and click Locked. And of course, we need to go to Review to protect the sheet. And we have the other options here as we discussed before. Remember, the password is optional, so you can hit OK to protect your worksheet without a password. If you wanted to, you could even hide formulas so that people can't see them at all. So with this option, we only lock the cells with formulas without hiding the formulas. But we could go back in and also hide the formulas, reprotect the worksheet, and now the formulas aren't even showing up. So we can see the result of the formulas, but we can't see what was typed in. You can also prevent users from making structural changes to your workbook, like adding, deleting, hiding, or unhiding sheets. It's called protecting the workbook. Once you go to the Review tab, it's right next to the Protect Sheet command. People will still be able to work within the cells as normal, but the structure of the worksheet will be locked. And finally, you can protect the entire file. Protecting a file with a password means locking the entire file so that users can't view it without entering that password. To protect the entire file, click on the File tab, then click Info. Click the Protect Workbook drop-down, and then click Encrypt with Password. Enter the password you want, and then you'll be asked to confirm. Let's use Test as our password. Let's close this file and try to reopen. It says that the file is protected, so now we need to enter the password. Now we're inside and we can work as usual, so if we wanted to apply further protection mechanisms within the file, we'd have to use 1 or more of the options we just looked at. So you've just learned how to lock the contents of your cells all the way from the cellular level up to the file level. Check out GoSkills.com for more Excel tips and lessons.
Ready to learn more about Microsoft Excel? Then check out the full course on GoSkills.com. Click the link in the description.